And thank you all who have joined today. This is the Ghana Chapter of the International Coaching Federation, and we are proud to host a session on International Youth Day. This is an opportunity for the Ghana Chapter of ICF to spotlight the role of coaching in supporting young people to grow, to lead, and to thrive. And thank you all for joining us as we engage with thought leaders of the ICF Global, ICF Professional Coaches, and Ghana Chapter at large, and other coaches who have joined us from other chapters globally and across Africa. We have 4 speakers today. Our keynote speaker was Dr. Jennifer Koster from DEIB of ICF, but she's been represented by Sarah Masood. So when Sarah Masood comes up to speak, Sarah, I beg to indulge you to introduce yourself briefly in your role, and then do the introduction that Jennifer was supposed to take up. Our other speakers we want to welcome are Malcolm Phyllis. Malcolm is the Regional Director for Europe, Africa, and International at the International Coaching Federation, which is the world's largest, most globally recognized professional body for coaches. In this role, he partners with leaders, chapters, and coaching communities across 2 continents to expand the awareness, credibility, and adoption of coaching as a catalyst for organizational and societal transformation. He's a strategic thinker with a deep commitment to professional excellence. Malcolm leads regional initiatives that strengthen ICF's visibility, membership growth, and impact. And he works across Africa and Europe. He has been very supportive of the Ghana chapter, and Malcolm is a credentialed PCC coach himself. The other speaker we have is Dr. Aikyna Finch, also of DEIB. She's a passionate DEIB leader, educator, and committed to creating inclusive spaces where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued. This is important for youth. As the Vice President of DEIB for the International Coaching Federation, she leads global initiatives that champion equity and belonging. She has a doctorate in management and advanced degrees in technology marketing. Dr. Finch also merges data-driven strategy with human-centered leadership. She is also a TEDx speaker, author, and certified coach, and in her own right, also a credentialed BCC coach. And then we have Scoffrey Nana Yeboah. Coach Scoffrey is Africa's foremost neuroscience-informed ontological transformational executive coach. He's a master certified coach, advanced certified team coach, certified professional corporate trainer, professional certified MBIT trainer, master coach, and professional certified MBIT trainer. He is the president of the ICF Ghana Chapter, a fellow of the Institute of Commercial Management UK, a lead consultant with Zoe Global Consult, with nearly 2 decades of combined experience and over 3,500 hours dedicated to empowering and transforming lives. Scoffrey's greatest passion is coaching. So he's a credentialed MCC coach, among other great hats that he wears. So in essence, he's also one of our supporters for this particular initiative, and one of your main leaders on this youth transformation journey. I am Emily Nwanko. I'm your moderator for today. I am the Vice President of the ICF Ghana. I come from a corporate background in many different areas. I've been in media, I've been in African Development Bank, I've been in agricultural research, I've been in Population Council for global population advancement. And I'm happy to be your coach and your host for today. So without much ado, I think what I'll ask the coaches as they begin to present their section, please do feel free to add to your introduction, to say something about yourself, something that you're passionate about. and what you feel today holds for you and what you can bring for the youth. So Sarah Masood, I will ask you just a brief background about yourself before you begin the presentation of DEIB. And we do understand that this was just an introduction to DEIB, and then you may stay on as long as you wish, or if you have other assignments, you please feel free to take your leave after your presentation. So let us start with Sarah, if you're ready.
Sure. Yes, thank you. Thank you for having us today. Thank you, Emily. As she said, my name is Sarah Masood. I am the DEIB coordinator. So I work alongside Dr. Aikyna Finch and Dr. Jennifer Koster. Um, my specialty is in international affairs. I have both my master's and bachelor's in international affairs. And so my expertise is that I bring an international lens to the DIB department. So we want to make sure that no matter where folks are in the world, they always feel that sense of belonging and feel inclusion, even though ICF is located in North America. Their headquarters, it's still an international organization, still a global organization. So we are here to represent everyone. And that is reflected in our how we offer programming within the DIB department. And so it's organized into 4 areas. One, expanding representation of underrepresented communities. And I'll share with you how we do that in a little bit. Investing in education and diversity intelligence. And we do that through all of the workshops and events that we offer in the form of trainings. Creating accessible environments and establishing policies that enforce equity. So we work within ICF, and Dr. Aikyna Finch, as you said before, is our strategist in making sure that DIB is incorporated into every sector of ICF. And with that being said, we have a lot of exciting offerings in the month of August. We are always having some sort of workshop or event or training. So our first event that I want to share with you all that is actually open to everyone, not just ICF members, is our Voices of Belonging series. So our August event just passed, but we do have our October one. It's offered monthly, and that is going to be on October 13th. And it's our special event because we are featuring speakers at Converge who are attending Converge. And so it'll be, the topic will be around Converge. And that is 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern time. We also have something that we just launched, which is our DIB Across Regions Global Listening Sessions. And so these are sessions that we are having in all parts of the world. We're having 2 sessions to feature each region. And we are collecting data and understanding how folks view DEIB in their part of the world, in that region. How can we, as a DIB department, help? And what do we need to understand about their region as we continue to create programming and create policies that ensure belonging and inclusion? So we want to hear from everyone. We want people to join so we can hear their voice. And we will link that. Our next one is on the 20th, and that is featuring Latin America and the Caribbean. But we do have our Africa and Asia Pacific one coming up as well that we can post the schedule for. All right, then we have our events, and those are split up into monthly and quarterly. So for our monthly events, we have what we call our culture series. So this is 3 classes that we have monthly: global cultural competency, advancing cultural competency in coaching, and cultural humility. So these are around helping coaches really understand and think about culture and how it affects their coaching practice and how it affects their client and what they need to understand in order to make sure they are coaching the client with their culture, with their social identity, with their lived experiences. And it's advances as you move from part 1 to part 2 to part 3. We also have different time zones as well. So we have 2 sessions for each one, and we'll also post that schedule for you all as well. And then we have our quarterly events. And for our quarterly events, we have coming up here in August, the Generations in Practice, which is actually happening now. But that is our workshop around coaching different generations. So that's a really fun one. That one a lot of people really like because now you have, millennials, Gen Z, boomers. So we have a diverse age group of clients. So it's important to understand what it takes to coach them. Um, and then we have our DIB communities that we want you to plug into and find your space where you can feel like you belong and find your community. So we have our DIB practitioners community. So that's for all coaches, no matter who you are, who are working or interested in DEIB coaching, right? Um, this community is a collective of professionals, and they're dedicated to advancing DEIB principles within ICF and society through coaching. So it's a really large group of individuals who are like-minded when it comes to DEIB and incorporating that into their practice. And then we have our member resource groups. And those are groups you can join one, you can join multiple, but these are groups that are identity-based. So we have our Black, Indigenous, People of Color, or BIPOC member resource group, which is a space for people of all ethnic and racial backgrounds to share experiences, to come together and, talk about barriers you may face as underrepresented community. And we actually do have an event for the BIPOC group around the DEIC method coming up by Dr. Freddie Sanders this month as well. And then we have our Young Professionals member resource group, which focuses on building and developing the next generation of coaching leaders. And even if you feel like you don't, necessarily identify with being a quote unquote young professional, if you are new to coaching, you're a young coach, or if you are someone who coaches young folks, this is also a space for you to learn. And then we have our Persons with Disabilities member resource group. Of course, for those who have any sort of disability, whether that's physical disability, invisible disability, whatever it might be. Um, and then we have our International Military Veterans MRG. And that is, of course, for our international military veterans, no matter which military that you served in. And then we have our Kaleidoscope member resource group, which is fostering a supportive community for a diverse spectrum of sexual and gender identities and experiences. So those are all of the things that we offer, and I'll post the document in the chat so you can see, when the meetings are and where you can register. And yeah, if you have any questions or want to reach out, you can always email us at the DIB@coachingfederation.org, and you can find us on Engage.
Emily, you are muted.
Sorry. Sarah, is that all? Is that the end of your presentation?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you for standing in at short notice. And
No worries.
since there's the risk of you leaving at any point, I just want to open the floor a bit for anybody who has any kind of question they may wish to ask you now or clarification they wish to seek from you quickly
Mhm.
before you take your leave, if you need to. So, are there any questions, any comments, any reactions to what Sarah has shared from anyone, whether it is part of our guests or part of the participants who have joined? So you can put a comment, okay.
I have a comment.
Yes,
Mm.
go
So
ahead.
first off,
I want to thank Sarah for standing in today. We appreciate her greatly. And Sarah is a wonderful asset to the team. You will be seeing her more as in September 1st, she will
Right.
be joining the ranks and in her new promotion of DEIB manager. So you will be seeing her more. So you'll be able to reach out to her and she'll be able to help you on a one-on-one basis as needed. So thank you, Sarah, for all you do.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Finch.
Okay.
And I posted the documents in the chat, so feel free to download. But I will head out because I have another training that we are facilitating. So
Okay.
we'll see you
Okay.
next time.
Okay. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
and have a good day.
You too.
Okay. So before we launch into our other speakers, first of all, just a general overview question. How can coaching become a more accessible developmental resource for young people? And how can young people themselves help reshape the coaching profession? And just a few thoughts for the presenters to think about, the youth as our future and the youth as our conscience. And young people are not merely for the next generation of coaches. They are also potential beneficiaries, clients, innovators, leaders, co-designers, future coach of the future coaching profession. So we want to just reflect on, can coaching be a viable and meaningful career pathway for young people? Can young people benefit from receiving professional coaching, not merely becoming coaches? And what must change in the coaching ecosystem so that geography, income, culture, gender, disability, language, or social background do not determine who gets access to coaching? Now, Sarah Masood has touched on a bit of some of this, and I think some of the documents she has shared could give some expansion into what is available to engage in the discussions. But these are some of the thoughts that we have put in our minds as we begin to listen to the presentations of our speakers today. And I want to thank the speakers for availing themselves for the time to come and join us. And we cannot coach away structural barriers. So how do we combine coaching with structural interventions? Education, employment, entrepreneurship, mentoring, technology, finance, policy, and social protection so that coaching strengthens agency without placing responsibility for systemic problems entirely on young individuals or out of sight of the rest of us who are coaching, and we seem to be coaching those in need or those who require advancement or those who have a specific time-bound sort of agenda or goal for themselves. So as we start now, I'll rather not give presenters panel questions to ask, but I'll give each presenter an opportunity to present what they would like to share today. And as you start to give your presentation, if there's anything that you want the the members to know a little bit more about you or your thoughts on this topic, please feel free to share. Our first speaker today then is Malcolm, I believe. After
Hello, Emily.
that, Malcolm Phyllis is here. So
Yes.
Malcolm, please, I've said a bit about who you are, so you may begin, you may
Mhm.
add to that, or you may dive into your presentation. So feel free, whichever way you want to do it. And welcome, and thank you for making time to join us today. The floor is
Yes.
yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily, and good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, so if I sound a bit nasally, if I sound a bit confused about life, I literally landed in the States after a 16-hour flight this morning. And so, yes, I'm still awake. So if I do fall asleep halfway through what I'm saying, please forgive me. The other thing is also in coaching, I think something that we all know is we need to be able to dance in the moment, right? So you get into a coaching session, Then your client comes up with something. Your client then shifts immediately in that. And so today I'm going to dance in the moment, not by choice, but by Emily. And I'll tell you why. I've prepared myself for panel discussion, not for presentation. So, but I'll bring things together as best as I can, Emily, in terms of this particular topic. So, other than what Emily has spoken to us about or kind of mentioned about myself, something that you may want to know is that I am a firm believer in the development of youth. My entire life, from the age of 16, I was in youth leadership already, kind of looking at how do I support others going through challenges, growing up in the community where I've grown up. Oh, can I do one thing? Skofre, Aikyna, or anybody, Emily, if I speak too fast, please pull me back. Just raise your hands or something. I will catch it. Skofre is laughing because he knows me. I'm like a salesperson at times. Um, so from the age of 16, there's something that I looked at was I am in a situation in my community. How do I get out? But it wasn't for me just how do I get out, but how do I take others out with me? The other thing I realized within the context was in that period of time, I couldn't get myself out, but I needed somebody to help me out. And for that, I had certain mentors, either from our churches, from our communities, and leaders that took an interest in me to say, Malcolm, we know this is not the life that you want. Let's help you get to the life that you want. Let's give you opportunity, however small or big it is. That is what kind of helped me to get to the point where I am today. And that's one of the reasons why I took a personal responsibility to say, I need to give back what I receive. So when we talk about our young people, I do not believe in terms of young people is our future. I believe that young people are present. I believe they got a valuable contribution, not just tomorrow, but they actually have a very important contribution today. How we think, how do we shape, how do we structure our programs, how do we structure even the support that we want to give them. Sometimes we bring them a level of support from what our understanding is and not really listening to them. So when we want to talk about, and this is under the auspices today of International Youth Day and also DEIB. And if I look at the I and the B of DEIB, the inclusion and the belonging, the question is, do we really include our young people? Do we include them in conversations? Do we include them in the spaces where we think, they are not, they actually don't belong there? And I want you to picture your own journey as a young person. When I work with the youth, parents normally come to me to say, Malcolm, my child is so rebellious, my child is so this. And I just take them back to when they were 16, 17, 18 years old. I want you to transport yourself back to university days and that what is it that helped you make decisions? What is it that helped you build confidence? Who is that person that helped you? And so from a coaching perspective, I believe that coaching is very empowering. I've experienced the power of coaching in terms of the transformation in my own life. And I've also witnessed the transformation in terms of the coaching that I've done. When we look at our young people, they want to be included. They don't just want things and intervention to be done to them, but they want to be part of the journey of designing that intervention, if you want to call it that, which is not a word I really like, but they want to be part of designing that so that we can give to them what they need. Now, coming to coaching, there's an African proverb that says, okay, let me take one step back. I think most of us will know the concept of Ubuntu, right? I am because we are. And so if we want to, Emily had like I can say a barrel full of, a shotgun full of questions. It was about inclusion. It was about accessibility. It was about all of these different things. If I have to bring all of them together, then I would say that we have a responsibility as a community to be so that our young people can be. What do I mean? Am I open for me to be open to the voice of the young person? For me to be present to the young person? For me to be accessible and available to that young person? And so my being will help them to be. And that is a question that I want to leave with us here. There's an entire coaching ecosystem from training through to coaches, through to even my role in terms of as a regional director, Aikyna's role that she's got at the global level. When we put all of those things together, the question is, how are we being so that our young people can be? How do we equip them? What does a coaching education provider do to support accessibility and inclusion of young people within the programs? What does Malcolm do in terms of a membership opportunity so that these young coaches can feel part of the community? What is Malcolm doing in a regional capacity point of view to say we need to build the skill sets of our coaches to be able to coach and to support young people within that? And in the same way, from a global perspective, I believe each one of us as a community, they said, what's it? It takes a village to raise a child. For us to have our future presidents, they cannot do it on their own. They need us as a support structure to help them through this. And so my first point that I'm going to make is we need to not do things to our young people. Coaching is not something that you do to someone, but it's something that you partner with someone. So how are we partnering with our young people to bring them into the ecosystem from two perspectives? One, as a consumer of coaching, but two, as a provider of coaching. There is value in both of those. Now, not to advertise a particular coach education provider, but I was in Uganda in May where we launched a level 1 program. And Joanne McGenzie, she's the owner of that particular program. There's something that she says. She says, anyone who needs a coach must find it at work. So she's got a particular program that's focusing on work. But every person that needs a coach must find it at work. So as organizations, are we opening up the opportunity for coaching, not just to senior leaders, but to all avenues in terms of our participants, our employees, to everybody to experience coaching? And I'm speaking from the inclusion point of view now. In terms of accessibility from us as coaches, a lot of our coaches in Africa will tell me, but Malcolm, it's expensive. They can't afford my services. So yes, one person can't afford your services. Have you considered doing group coaching for young people? So that helps them to have their individual journeys, but together. They also form a peer support structure through a group coaching program while you facilitate that. So you can still get your rate, but per capita for them is much cheaper and much more affordable, which means I make coaching accessible to them. And so this is the practical things that we can do to step up. When we look at the baobab tree as an example, the baobab tree, we all know, right? Okay, let me not assume. It's a huge tree. Not one person can embrace it. If you try to put your arms around it, you're not going to reach halfway, right? So which means that in order to embrace the entire tree, there's a few of us that needs to join hands. And in that same way, as a collective, we need to join hands to support our young people in the coaching elements to drive them. They need us for their pain points. What's a young person's pain points? And I'm going to go back to my own pain points that I experienced. One is confidence. I had such a lack of confidence, even though I was a youth leader at 16. And even today, there's a lot of self-doubt that springs into my mind. You can ask Aikyna, sometimes we have conversations, and then she will pick up, okay, this man's brain is going otherwise, he's not going to the wise, but more to the otherwise. Confidence. How do we build confidence within the young people? How do we help them to formulate decision-making patterns for them that supports them? How do we help them with their pain points in terms of career journeys? I'm standing at a crossroads, left or right, accountant or doctor, lawyer or entrepreneur. Where am I going to go to? A young person decides to become an entrepreneur. How does coaching support them in terms of their journey as an entrepreneur to create success? So there's a lot of avenues where we can practically come together, hold hands together, and be able to work together to support our young people. Our young people, for me, is not the future, it is the present. And there's a question that Emily asked also is about future versus now. We prepare them for both. I don't believe in either or, I believe in and. Why am I saying that? There's a statement, and for those from a religious perspective will probably have heard it, where they say, you're so heavenly minded that you have no earthly good, right? So we can't prepare our young people so much for the future that they're irrelevant in the present. But we also can't focus in the present that they become irrelevant in the future. And so we need to have that combination of saying, where is our young people at? What's the gap that they need for now? And how do we make sure that gap becomes a platform for their future as well? And so that they can move forward in that future. So that is a responsibility that we can take collectively. It's a responsibility that I'm personally taking very seriously, whether it is in the church, whether it's in my community. My daughter is second year university at the moment. And she's the one that says, Daddy, you must please come talk to my people. You must please come talk to our teachers. You must please come. We need your voice there to help them shape. And because my daughter knows that I didn't teach her what to think, but how to think. And so she knows the structure in terms of how do I navigate life, and she can see the need. Question is, what are we doing collectively? The Ghana chapter of ICF, what is it that you are doing? And my friend Scoffrey, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Scoffrey is the first MCC coach in Ghana, right? He's got the first coaching program also in Ghana. Being the first and the only has no glory unless there's others that we pull with us. And the two of us had this discussion, that's why I can mention it, is there's no glory in being the only and the first unless I bring it back into my community and bring others forward with us. We have not placed in these positions where we are now just for ourselves, but to be of service. As coaches, we are in service to our clients, and that is where we need to step up and be able to do that. In closing, I saw somebody in the chat saying that here from something in the youth development that those who run programs for youth development need our support as well. From a coach ecosystem point of view. When I say coach ecosystem, I'm talking about every asset, every facet of coaching, whether it's education through to delivery. Those programs need our support. Those are the programs that we can step up and say, let's ICF Foundation has got an Ignite project as an example we can run to support them. How do we channel those very structurally and strategically to help those that help others? And sometimes I can't help 20 people, but I can help one person who will be able to have access to the 20 people that we need to help. And that is something that my challenge for us today is we need to look at how do we work together in support of our young people that they are presently solid, relevant, confident, and able to make decisions both for now and for the future. Our communities will only be stronger if we invest in our young people today. So, Emily, that is my presentation in closing. Thank you very much. If there's any questions, I'm willing to take those as and when Ms. Emily decides is the appropriate time.
Thank you so much, Malcolm. Thank you very much for that. And definitely, you know that we're going to go do a merry-go-round here, and we will definitely come to some of the points that you have raised. But thank you for so much for this suggestion of the baobab tree. And I think this baobab tree image that you have shared with us is in order to embrace this tree, we need to join hands. So in order to embrace this journey of how do we as coaches develop the younger ones as we go, not looking at them as future, but looking at them as part of now. And as they grow, and how do they also grow others as we go. So let's take that, let me take that as the foundation of your discussion you have just said, with all the lovely things you have said about how do we give back, how do we grow, how do we take, what do we give back, how do we join, and how do we make sure that we continue to be solid, relevant, strong, and help the youth also make decisions. So our next speaker, thank you, Malcolm, we'll go around a bit and then we'll come back to discussion, open for discussions. And coaches, I will also encourage you, if you have questions as others are presenting, please note them down because I'm going to open up for you to ask each other questions. So our next line, Dr. Aikyna Finch, the floor is yours. If you need to add a bit of what's about yourself, please feel free. But otherwise, feel free to share what you have what is in your heart today. Thank you.
All righty. Well, first off, I am Dr. Aikyna Finch. I always say your VP of DEIB for the International Coaching Federation because you are all part of ICF. And I appreciate each and every one of you for being here today. And I am a tech girl, so anytime I have an opportunity, I want to connect. So I definitely put in my LinkedIn. So if anybody wants to connect with me personally, have any questions, please go ahead and do so. And so this topic was very, very important to me today, because I have an affinity for Africa. Every chapter that I have been to has been absolutely amazing and so welcoming and so just so great. And then also, Malcolm spoke so highly before I even was able to meet each and every one of you. And anytime that I can support Malcolm, that is something that I definitely want to do. And the work that I've seen since I've been VP of DEIB from Africa has absolutely been stellar. And so I wanted you to hear that from me personally. I have just been honored every time that I was able to come to any of the chapters. So first off, I want to say good evening because it's afternoon for you. It's morning for me, but it's afternoon for you. So I want to definitely say that. And when we talk about coaching and young people, I think we have to begin with a very simple question. What actually has access and who has access to coaching right now? And what does that access look like? Because coaching can be powerful, but it can help people develop clarity, confidence, self-awareness, leadership, purpose, and direction. But none of that matters if the people who could benefit from it can't reach it. And when we talk about access, I want us to think beyond coaching technically. I want us to think about access as far as, can people afford it? Can they find it? Can they access it in their language that they understand? Can they participate in it if they have a disability? Can they see themselves reflected in the profession? Do they feel that the coaching space understands their culture, their community, their lived experience? And perhaps more importantly, were they included in the designing of that experience in the first place? And that is why DEIB is essential to coaching. These are the questions that I get to address each and every day. And as coaches, even before I became a DEIB representative, I was a coach. And these were the questions that I was asking in my practice. Can they afford it? Can they find it? Is it accessible to them in any way that they would need it? Is it equitable? And do they belong? And so, as we're thinking about that, I want to talk about access is more than affordability, because professional coaching has historically been more available to people connected to corporations, executive development programs, universities, organizations, all with the resources to pay for it. So that means that we have young people who could benefit tremendously from the work that we do as coaches, but never encounter it because they may not be able to afford it. So we have to ask the uncomfortable question: does the current business model of coaching unintentionally exclude some of the very people that could benefit from it the most? And I want us to sit in that, because the answer in most cases is yes. And that does not mean coaching shouldn't be paid. You are not hearing me say do not get paid for your services. That is not what I'm saying today. But we also need to remember that coaching is professional work that should be valued as such. We are saying that. But perhaps we've been too narrow in thinking about who pays for coaching. So what does that mean exactly? What if access did not always depend on the individual young person having the financial means to hire the coach? What if the schools, the universities, the employers, the nonprofit organizations, the foundations, all the things come together and be part of that ecosystem that has the coaching readily available for the students, for the young people? What if we expanded group coaching, community coaching, peer coaching, employer-sponsored coaching? What would that look like? How would that change the coaching ecosystem? See, because the goal is not necessarily to make every coaching experience free. The goal is to create more doors into coaching. Because if there was only one door and that door required financial privilege, professional status, geographical access, and familiarity with coaching, then we cannot call the system fully accessible. And so, what do we want to say about that? We have to remember that context matters in this point, because we also want to remember that people do not come into coaching without context. Remember, culture matters, language matters, gender matters, disability matters, geographic points matter, social economics matter, family expectations matter, community expectations matter. We have all these things that matter and all these contexts that people bring into the coaching space. The coach may be sitting with one person, but that one person is sitting inside of an entire social system, right? And when we remember this, we're asking, they're saying, I treat everybody the same. But is that always inclusive? I want y'all to sit in that. When we're saying, I treat everybody the same, is that inclusive? Sometimes treating everyone exactly the same means ignoring the very different conditions that they are navigating. A young person that living in let's say London may understand success differently than someone living in Chicago, Delhi, Johannesburg, or a rural community. One young person may define success by becoming an executive, while another one may define it as entrepreneurship, while another one may want financial security. We have to remember that we are going to coach these people differently, because these are different points that they need, and each one of these areas have a different point that needs to be taken into account for them to reach their success. So one question I think coaches should ask more is, whose definition of success is operating in the conversation? Is it mine? Is it your family's? Is it society? Is it your organization? Or is it actually yours, and yours being the client? Because that question can change the entire coaching conversation and the perspective of the client, or in this case, our youth. Because they may come in thinking coaching may be one thing, but when you ask them that question, coaching becomes personal, it becomes beneficial, and it becomes transformational. So I want to talk about the youth specifically, if I may. We're often describe youth as the leaders of tomorrow. And I do believe Emily mentioned that early in her conversation, but we need to see that they're already leading today. How many young people do you see, young professionals in your world today leading right now? But they do not have that coach that they need, or they do not have that mentor that they need. They're being thrown out there into the wolves blind. They're starting businesses blind. They're building movements blind. They're creating technology blind. And they are influencing culture now. So what can we do as coaches to make this ride easier, smoother, and more beneficial for them? What can we say to help them move in the trajectory of greatness, to move in the transformational trajectory? And so I want us to really think about this. So when we talk about youth inclusion, we are not only asking, what can we teach young people? We should be asking, what can young people teach us? And that's the shift. Young people should not simply be recipients of professional coaching, but they should help us redesign it. They can help us think differently about accessibility, technology, community, career development, belonging, leadership, and even what it means to be a professional coach. We can remember back to when we were young, if we're not young on this call today, right? And remember how people were telling us, oh, you were doing this wrong and doing that wrong. Were we doing it wrong or were we doing it differently? And did we have somebody that was molding us and showing us how to use those differences to elevate instead of slapping our hands when we come up with a different decision or a different outlook? I want you to remember that coaching cannot solve everything, and we know that, right? But coaching cannot coach away structural barriers, but it can help someone who is extremely motivated. They may have clarity, they may have confidence, they may be developing a wonderful action plan, but coaching cannot remove the discrimination that they may see because they're young. It cannot repair the inaccessible education system that they're running in. It cannot eliminate poverty and it cannot replace public policy. But what it can do is strengthen the agency that they have to work in. It can help them see possibilities. It can help them make decisions and it can help them navigate systems. And having them have the knowledge to know that coaching is there and the accessibility to reach it when they need it is invaluable. So this is why DEIB work cannot stop at representation. Representation does matter, but representation as who is here, inclusion as who gets to participate, and belonging as whose present and contributions are valued. And equity forces us to ask the question, who has the power? And that is a good question. Are our youth sitting there at the table, but nobody is listening to them? And if that's the case, then that's representation without influence. If they participate in programs and can't help shape them, that's inclusion without shared power. So our challenge is not simply to bring more youth into coaching. Our challenge is to let the young people help us rethink the coaching. What would they change? What would they keep? What would they reject? And what would that growth mean to them? And these are the questions we should not be afraid to ask. So, in closing, we were asked, what would we think we would see by 2030? And I thought that was an amazing question, and I wanted to go ahead and answer that question as my close. By 2030, I believe that every young person should have access to someone who helps them see the possibilities beyond their circumstances. Sometimes that person is a coach, a mentor, a teacher, a counselor, a community leader. But professional coaching has an opportunity to become a more important part of that ecosystem. For that to happen, we have to stop treating access simply as an invitation and create it as a design requirement. Thank you.
Dr. Aikyna, thank you so much. So much. There's so much rich sharing you have done there, especially for the youth. And yes, we have to make it equitable. I think equity is one word that is totally misinterpreted across the board, not just in DEIB, but even in business, even in benefits, even in structures, such that you get into a situation, you get into an organization or into a group or into something that you're working on, and you think that equity means that once I'm in there and there is this theory about equity, that I will be part of it. And then you will find that equity has been defined upwards and not downstream. So who suffers? Is the youth? Who suffers? Is those who don't have access? Who suffers? Is those who are not seen? So how can we make sure that everybody in this spectrum, around this baobab tree, is seen? And how do we join forces to make sure that coaching is relevant, no matter where you stand? Coaching has a meaning for you in your ecosystem. It has the same goal of succeeding, the same goal of changing, the same goal of being independent, the same goal of existing and being happy and satisfied. Thank you. So on that note, let me invite our third speaker, Skofre, Nana Yeboah. I think Malcolm and if I may just call you Aikyna, has opened the door and set the table, and I know that you have come there now with a lot more to add. So, Skofre, over to you. And thank you, Dr. Aikyna.
Thank you very much, Emily. And there are some very important personalities on the call today from the Kingdom of Lesotho. So I want to humbly do the honors to acknowledge their participation here today. I would just want to do a bit of a throwback. I remember when we nurtured the idea of having a chapter in Ghana, and one of the discussion I remember Emily, myself, Biju, we needed to have was, what kind of chapter do we want? Do we just want a chapter that is designed to be affluent, make all the monies, have the deeper connections with corporate? Was that the kind of chapter we want? Or being a young chapter, we will want to also create a space and a voice for young people. So if you look at the Ghana Chapter of ICF, our first event that culminated into the formation of a chapter was a partnership we have with GIMPA, Ghana Institute of Public Administration and Management. That was the first with the HR department. We needed to have an event for them where these students had opportunity to hear about coaching for the first time, had an experience or what we will call speed coaching in this that we do. And the impact was incredibly profound. That goes to validate what we are doing here on this particular conversation. It's also not by accident. Among all the chapters in the world, the Ghana Chapter of ICF have dedicated International Youth Day as part of our DEIB. Because until we make a deliberate effort to find the young people and the youth integrated in coaching conversation and in coaching participation, it will become a cliche. We did not end it there. Now we have scaled it up also into making sure that I think last year our Ignite project was still with young people, and also with the Village of Hope, a non-governmental organization that has got a lot of its leadership being youthful. So even where we spent our pro bono coaching goes to a lot of young people. As we speak, there are young people from GIMPA receiving pro bono coaching because of the the event we had, International Coaching Week. I'm sharing all this to drum home to establish that at the Ghana Chapter of ICF has really embodied and imbibed DEIB, where youth or the young people are critical, very, very critical to us. And we've not even ended. We are not only in Ghana. This is one of the things that makes the Ghana chapter outstanding. We have Francophone membership, and we have created a portfolio dedicated to just the French-speaking coaches that are part of our membership. So Ghana, even though it is called the Ghana Chapter of ICF, Ghana is just more or less like a host nation, but we have coaches who are French-speaking, and we have dedicated portfolio that takes care of them. Guess what? That portfolio also is in connection with a university in Cameroon, Uninova. And we are currently also building up to make sure that this university lead us to also offer some coaching sessions for them. This is Dr. Finch, when you ask of access, this is how we have created our access without waiting for global. And for me, that is what is profound and that is what is important, that we take a decision and create a stand and not wait for the young people to become adults before we are part of their journey. Because for us, we want to tap into their life at a very youthful age. If you are to listen to the testimonials that some of the young people from Gimpa shared about 2 years ago when they were in school and had pro bono, the person I personally even coached, that gentleman was the person I shared with. He went through a speed coaching in 2023 before he had a formal coaching session when we rolled it out there. His life turnaround is incredibly powerful. What gives me more insight and more interest in regards to young people engaging in coaching, having access to coaching, is because of the neurological impact. Because I always say that if there is anything like childhood trauma that impede the growth and development of a young person, then there is also neurological impact of coaching, that when they get it very early, it rewires their brains, it rewires their nomenclature, it rewires the person they want to show up for. And if that is a critical thing for us as coaches, my other question will be, whom are we being as coaches that blocks access to young people? Because if you are not being a coach that has got the embodiment of DEIB, that include and open doors for young people, your work, your commitment will only be to corporate. So whom are we being such that the 12-year-old, the 15-year-old, the 18-year-old, the 25-year-old can still be in, and coaching must not always be structured. I think that is what I am driving at. That we can even use coaching conversations to drive home the accessibility, the equitability for young people to also harness whom they choose to be through coaching. Because coaching is a very powerful intervention, an extremely powerful intervention. If Esther were to be here, I currently use the metaphor that coaching is the only surgical procedure that does not need a knife cutting, because it goes deep beneath the skin to support whatever need the patient in quotes will have. So if coaching is an intervention that goes deep beneath the skin to the cell level, and we are only limiting it only to the adult because they can what I call value exchange, then by the time we are ready that they should occupy, because now we have presidents who are 40 years old, we have vice president of corporate who are in their 28th year, and by the time they get up to what we call adults, we wouldn't have served them best. And we all know what is contending for the attention of our young people. We want them at the decision-making table. But what kind of support have we put in place? One of the things, Emily, you shared was the youthful voice. Coaching offers anyone who experiences coaching a voice. Coaching offers that individual ownership of that said voice. It offers that individual the recognition that I matter and I can be impactful. If if there's anything in the human capital development that offers such, then it is only coaching at this moment in time. And with my earlier two panels have discussed the ecosystem. Aside the one-on-one under the International Coaching Federation, there is actually Ignite project where a chapter can decide to use it for something else. We have chosen to use it for young people as a chapter. There is also the coaching conversations where we can also deploy our services. Dr. Finch, like you mentioned, it may not have to be a structured coaching, but so far as I, the coach, no matter where I find myself, it will give young people an accessibility. A coaching conversation need not be paid for. That is what we're talking about. A coaching conversation in a way that the young person does not feel threatened, does not feel being corrected in a way because they are being different in their leadership. It does not mean they are not as we are. At the cellular level, we are human beings. I keep saying, if you cut any human being to the deepermost core of whoever it is, you still find a cell. And that is what is fundamental. And even if as adults, our plasticity still fires at 60 and beyond, then it means we are still even growing. Then it suggests that none can say, okay, these are young people and it's limited there. So I want to make a clarion call, an appeal to coaches who are on this call. In all your coaching services, have you purposefully, deliberately cut to fit a time or a space where you deliver coaching in a way that they don't need to pay for in quotes? Do we have a pro bono strategy? Okay, you also pay this forward. If I have had an experience, okay, as I coach you, you will need to render this service to somebody else as a form of the barter. Because when they receive the insight, the magic, I call it, of coaching, they want to put it to test. They want to experience, they want to live it and make it, for lack of a better word, transforming. So I will want to also make a clear appeal to non-coaches on the call today. We have all the money for everything until it is time for young people. We have all the money for everything until it is time to invest in young people. So it is very important for us to advance and challenge this in a way that let's make it equitable. The accessibility shouldn't just be through corporate. If corporate social responsibility, would you want to make an investment and say, International Youth Day 2027, we are building a bridge with the Ghana Chapter of ICF to offer coaching for 100 young people from our universities, from our secondary schools, from the vocational sector, from the technical sector, even those from the skill development. Can corporate say we want to do that? Not just to check mark boxes, but to be part of that transformation in that ecosystem, because coaching cuts deeper. Coaching digs deeper. Coaching coaches the entire person, the spirit, the soul, the mind, the heart, the nervous system. So it is an intervention that can easily be plugged into any faculty. So to wrap up, what will be your takeaway from this particular webinar on International Youth Day? What are you deliberately, what will have to shift so you become an access for young people to experience coaching in a way that wouldn't require the amount of revenue needed, the amount of investment? What would you need to get out of your way so you become an agent of coach or coaching in a manner that you don't need to have a structured coaching session, but even a healthy, powerful, life-altering coaching conversation? And finally, to my fellow coaches, what would it take us to unbox coaching from a corporate structure to make it accessible in a way that we can say we touch the life of young people in their startups, in whatever they are doing, earlier than they can catch up? so that they can actually also even have coaching as a career path. Emily, thank you.
Wow, thank you, Scofrey. You have really gone to the nerve center here. And bringing it all together. What is it in terms of the coaching conversation that we need to structure? What is it that we can change to make sure that the youth voice becomes relevant? And what do we have to shift so that coaching becomes an agent of coaching for the youth, for the young, for those who are starting up, for those who don't have the access that corporates do, which is where the focus of coaching starts. It starts with the corporates. It starts with those who can afford it. It starts with even the structure of becoming a coach is geared towards this trajectory. How can we influence the structure of becoming a coach so that everybody that wants to be, has the aptitude for, has the skill for being a coach, influence developing youth through coaching? Because youth do not have the resources that the other groups that we chase have. But they have a lot of talent. They have a lot of need. The youth of today are not the same as the youth of many generations ago that had handheld lives that were taken from birth to career development to marriage to they were sort of let go into life having been totally settled by parents or families that brought them up. Youth today are coming into a situation where they find I have to fight for myself. And I cannot get this education, but I have a skill, I have a mind, and I have thoughts, I have dreams, I have visions. I can change things. There's AI that's coming at play. And you find a lot of those who are using AI are the youth. Many of them don't have the level of education that others tend to have. But they would chase it simply because they want the recognition, because what comes after you is your name, and then what comes, is it PhD or whatever it is that comes after that? How can we release the power of creating a livelihood for youth? How can we have this surgery that Scofrey has referred to? You have all presented really exciting issues. For a moment, let me open up to the floor a little bit. Does anybody from the floor wish to share anything in this context before I go back to the presenters? If you do, you can put it in chat or you can raise your hand. In the meantime, Malcolm.
Yes, Madam Emily.
You have heard your co-presenters, your co-conversationalists, let me say.
I like the way you put it, co-conversationalist.
Yes, co-conversationalist, because this is a conversation.
Mm.
There's nothing set in stone here.
Yep.
What thought has come to you now since you first presented? What has struck you?
So two things, actually three. So one, thank you, Scofrey, for highlighting, the journey that Ghana chapter has gone on to be inclusive, to be open, to be welcoming. I mean, I know we started that journey together, and the first big thing was Gimpa. And I heard about Gimpa, and I was like, I must make sure that my South African Afrikaans Gimpa is not the same translation of what it really is. There's something that Ghana did from the very start was to add in Francophone immediately. It wasn't even a thought. It's not an afterthought. It was part of the DNA. And so to the chapter, I really want to say thank you for making diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging part of your DNA from the word go. It wasn't something that we tried. It was something that was a necessity for you. So my first point is well done on that. And thank you for leading the way to many chapters, even bigger chapters. Ghana's got about 38, 40 members now. And even with as small as they are leading the way in these things. Something that has come to mind for me, and so for those who know me, I think in metaphors, I think in proverbs, I think in those things, right? I just kind of connect. And I had to check with Koster if this is true. So I normally do research about an area. What are the famous quotes that there? And so I might butcher the pronunciation of it, but a concept known as Sankofa. Sankofa? Am I saying it right? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So Sankofa. It is expressed as we need to go back and fetch what is valuable. Now, you say, Malcolm, so why do we need to go back in the past? There's an emphasis there. We go back to fetch what is valuable because that becomes the foundation about how we move forward. When I listen to Aikyna and through what Mrs. Koster said, there's a lot of value that is already existing. The question is, how do we open it up? How do we bring it a bit further? The other thing that I was sitting with is, and just as I was pondering and I was listening, and some of the comments in the chat also, so thank you for engaging in the chat as well, is one proverb that came to mind for me is to say, a society grows where people plant trees whose shade they know they will never sit in. So there's an investment that we make in planting a tree, grooming that tree, but we will never be able to enjoy the value that comes from that tree. And this is something that we need to do with our young people, is that we need to invest in our young people. Even though you personally never in your life will get the value of that. So investing them in helping them build their confidence, helping them make decisions. I always come to see the decision drives our entire life. And so every time we invest in a young person, remember your investment is not in vain. The investment that you make might not come to you, but it goes to the community. That person shows up differently, engages differently. At an organizational level, they will engage differently, they will do something differently. And then the statement that I made in the chat, my last statement was, I don't like interventions. So don't talk to me. Don't do coaching to me. I want you to be a coach. Your being, your conversation, generally, when myself and Koster talk, even when we talk about the weather, we look at the weather differently after we have spoken. Now you're going to say, Malcolm, what does that do? It just shows that the power of the conversation is a coaching conversation without pulling it a coaching conversation. Does that become our norm? And so my encouragement to everybody is make coaching conversations your norm so that it is your language. It is, if you want to go into the 5 love languages, maybe there must be 6. My coaching conversation is my love language to all that receives it. We have the power to change the world, one young person at a time. Question is, are we willing to step up and to actually do that? I believe the group that is here today has come with an interest because of young people. So thank you for being here, and thank you for the change that you are making in the lives of others. Emily, I've answered your question indirectly, directly, and not at all at the same time. So thank you for the opportunity for me to have my last words.
They may not be your last words, but thank you for confusing me even more. And but as you say, what I really admired what you say, that we plant trees whose shade we will never ever sit under, or whose fruit we will never enjoy. And this is like you said, investing in the youth, in young people, because young people, first of all, they'll pay it forward, but they also pay it backwards, as you suggested and as you insisted. They pay it backwards. They take it back. You invest in a young person in coaching, and they'll take it back to where they're coming from, and then pay it forward to where they're headed. So thank you, Malcolm, on that. You've raised another aspect and another dimension of what is coaching and how is it relevant when we're looking at coaching and the youth, and making coaching conversations our love language. Can it be our love language? When Koster presented, he said, coaching does not seem to be the love language with youth. It's a love language where we can benefit. And we speak it very fluently up there, but when we turn around to the youth and those behind us, we kind of get muddled up with the vocabulary and the thought process and the implementation process, and how do we do it? And we even forget that there are sectors even within those youth and sectors that are not recognized, those who are struggling, those who have nothing, but they're trying to survive. How can coaches be more sensitive to that? Because that is, as you say, that is where the planting is. That is where the planting is. Aikyna.
Yes, Miss Emily. Oh, it's my turn? Okay, wonderful. So, what have I learned from listening to my co-presenters or co-conversationalists? That is a great question. First off, I've learned about the passion for youth in Africa. That was amazing to me because I know Scott-Free is from Ghana, Malcolm is from South Africa, and the passion is still the same. And the fact that we want to pour into our youth. And I think the one line that I loved came from Scott-Free. We went ahead without global, without waiting on global. I caught that. And and it's and no issues, because you know what? Sometimes we can take a long time. I understand. I understand. But the point is, you didn't wait because you knew that your audience need to be served. Your clients need to be served. The youth needed to be served. So you went ahead and you did what you need to do. And sometimes we just have to do what we need to do. We're not going to sit there and watch people hurt if we can help them and we are waiting on an answer. Sometimes we got to go. And I appreciate that passion. I appreciate that passion. And as far as the youth are concerned, I love that part about the tree. We plant trees that we'll never sit under because it's going to give fruit that we'll never eat. Our youth are our fruit. Our youth are our seeds. And what we're pouring into them right now they are going to come up and be amazing trees. As we say, if we pour into them right, if we give them the right nourishment, the right water, the right fertilizer, all the things, they are going to come and become great trees. And it's up to us right now to start pouring. And we don't have to wait until they're 19, 21 years old. We can start now at 5, 6, 7. There are places that are starting coaching in elementary school. They are starting to put that seed into them because coaching brings a lot to the thought and mindset patterns of people. I have seen people's mindset shift just off of one coaching conversation. So why not pour this into children that have not experienced or fresh canvases, as I would say? Why not start their learning process with that coaching mindset so that they know how to navigate in a conflict instead of, all dukes up, as we say in the United States, right? Instead be able to talk through a situation, be able to negotiate a problem, to be able to strategize. Coaching brings all of those things to the table. So why not start young? Imagine what we can bring to the table. And what happens if we start young? They might fall in love with coaching. And then they can take on the mantle that we're starting right now. Our youngest PCC was 19 years old, which means that they had to go through classes at 16, 17, 18 years old. They were practicing at 16, 17, 18 years old. So they started this children young. They should not be the only 19-year-old PCC we have. It should be one of the many. One of the many. And that's why we pour into them now. Because right now, the mantle's looking light. So that is what that's the challenge today. I know each and every time I speak, I talk about the joy of coaching. I went to a millennial event and they said that at this rate, the millennials are going to be the last ones that value in-person coaching from a human. They believe that zillennials and all the others are going to want AI coaches. What does that say for our profession? We need to pour the love of coaching into our children now so that we can continue on. Because there's nothing like the human connection in coaching. Yes, AI can ask all the questions it wants, but it's nothing like the human connection. So that's what I received today. Thank you, Miss Emily.
And thank you, Aikyna, for pulling that thread through this needle. Let me first of all acknowledge Malcolm, because he was really instrumental in the way the Ghana chapter came together and was registered. Malcolm took a chance on 3 people, because there were the 3 people that showed up. And from there, his seed that he planted grew. And trying to pay it backwards now to youth and paying it forward to fellow coaches. So Malcolm, you're already ahead of the game in this conversation, because you're seeing the Ubuntu part of it, as you mentioned, because we are because you are. And the youth are now because you are, and you were, and you will continue to be. Aikyna, also your input right now is that we need to begin from the elementary level. You talked about the youngest PCC, who probably started coaching at 15, or maybe 14, maybe 12, who knows, or started right from when they could walk or speak. The millennials should not be the last to benefit from person-to-person coaching, because there is nothing like human connection, no matter how much AI does. And even if they go AI needs the input of humans for it to function well, because it's either garbage in, garbage out, because it doesn't feel, it doesn't smell, it doesn't think, it doesn't hear, it doesn't recognize, it doesn't feel. But human beings will continue to feel no matter what happens, even when they bring up a world of seedless fruit, where you can go to the market and say, this is a seedless fruit. What is a seedless fruit? A seedless fruit is that has nothing implanted in it, or that cannot reproduce itself. So if we don't pay attention to what the 3 of you have said about conversations and starting early and planting the seed of coaching in the youth and the young, are we going to raise seedless fruits? Scoffrey, more thoughts after now Malcolm and Aikyna's rebuttals.
Well, Emily, I think I will start with I feel very proud for the journey we've been on as a chapter, and today having a deeper conversation on International Youth Day, and in a manner that we get to share not just our success, not just our story, but it's also to say, listen, it is possible and it can be done. So gleaning from all the examples that we have had and the insight from the baobab tree to the AI input. And it's beautiful that it's a youth conversation. There was no way AI wouldn't have found itself in here. And I'm glad it still had a way to be found here. And it's not an accident that it had to come from somebody we all know has got love for techie, Dr. Finch. So hey, it's beautiful. What is standing out for me is sometimes you may think that tree you will not live to enjoy its shade. It sounds so far away until you are 60, 65, until you are blessed at 70, you are blessed at 75, and you get to be attended to in the hospital by that young person, that young lady you met in elementary, senior high school, or even in university. Then you realize that 20 years to their age of 18, which made them 10, 30, 38, or 20 years to years that made you 10, 70, was not too far away. Because sometimes it's so okay to think, well, I may not live to see. So if you don't care about what the young people care about, your sense of urgency, your sense of regard, your sense of meaningfulness to attach to what concerns young people can be very small. But if you come from that insight, that wisdom in that 20 years just passed and they are out of medical school, they are out of engineering school, they are out, they are VPs, they are managers, they are senior managers, and for some one way or the other, you need an assistant, and they show up and go like, hey, Coach Scoffrey, you don't remember me, but you came to my senior high school to give a talk and A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Then you realize that the tree has grown faster than you ever thought and giving you shade. So if we begin to live in that frames of metaphor that it is possible that that same tree will give you shade, maybe not in the manner, not in the form you planted the tree, but it is still going to be a shade for you. Then also, what I took out from Dr. Finch's submission is also the issue of the AI. I come from that school of coaching thought of purely ontology and embodied neuroscience. And there is nothing comparable to human or heart to heart conversation, because the actual magic to why coaching is powerful is because of the heart to heart. That is where the magic is. And the actual magic is when the body can evoke its own awareness. The body and the consciousness can evoke its own meaning and possibility. So if we want to just wait till AI takes over, just imagine, just ponder, just reflect and say, if we don't step into the space and become part of their envisioning and imagine something, and anything you live in a vacuum, something will occupy it. It is scientific. It's universal law. Whatever space you leave blank, something else will occupy it. So if we coaches leave the space of our young people's growth and development blank, AI will occupy it. And the consequences of it occupying it, to want to mimic humanness when it has no humanness nomenclature. I just want to call you into that space of reflection. Just reflect it. Just imagining it. That when we leave that space and something else occupies it, how would it look like? How would it feel like when a feelingless object occupying a feeling space? Just imagine it. And these are not just our kids. This is generations. For me, that is one way I look at the human life. That when I coach one young person, when I get to have a coaching conversation with one young person, it is not just the individual before me. It is the generation out of that individual. It is the community of generations that will come out of this individual. So when I say I am purposeful and passionate about being a coach, it is not because only of the revenue. Yes, I love the revenue to come in. But every client before me is a generation. Every client, every young person, everyone I get to speak to in Gimpa, everyone I get to speak in Lesotho, everyone I get to speak anywhere in the world is a generation, not just the individual before me. So, Emily, if we begin to occupy the space where the young people whom we will get to have that conversation with are generations, then it shifts the importance we attach to them and what is required to support them. Then finally, when you think the future is far away, whoever thought 2020 would just pass by 6 years ago? When we were in the 1990s and the 80s and you hear 2020, it was as if it's Armageddon, something was going to happen. But it is when we are now in 2026, we realize that no, even 2070 is just at the corner. Then it is a clarion call for us to say we wouldn't wait. And Malcolm Sankofa Yenchi, like we say, when you go back to fetch, it's not an abomination. That is what you actually said. If you go back to fetch what is valuable, it's not an abomination. If we have neglected our young people for long, and we want to go back and say it is valuable to grow and climb with our young people, then it is paramount. Thank you all very much. And Emily, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Scoffrey, for that and for bringing to full circle the conversation the three of you have held. I just want to open up a little bit to now the three of you, Malcolm, Aikyna, and Scoffrey. Do you have any last thought that you want to bring to conversation that you want to have before?
Emily, I think
Yes.
before we share our very last thought, and I'd like to have the last word. I think Esther, and I think there was somebody else's hand that was up also.
Yes.
So we did call for questions. So I think let's give Esther an opportunity to raise a question or comment.
Okay.
Esther?
Okay.
Esther, are you still there?
Esther, are you there?
Yes, Malcolm. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And I send greetings to all my friends in Ghana. I really resonate with what we are talking about this evening. Imagine, I never heard of coaching in Ghana till I came to South Sudan. And even my path with coaching, I'm taking it in Uganda. So I really think that an awareness must be deepened, especially for the youth. I agree with what you are saying. And I want to say that Ghana chapter, I am one of you now. I registered last week for ICF membership, and I'm happy to come on board. Thank you very much, Malcolm. Thank you so much for linking me up with my brothers and sisters. So I'm a Ghanaian, but I live in South Sudan, working with WFP. But I will be coming to Ghana soon, so we can always catch up. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Esther. And it's,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Malcolm.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for Esther because Esther is one of those people. We had a conversation, and then the next day she signed up. So it means that she's very intentional about her coaching. And then she looked for a chapter, and as she mentioned, she's in Sudan. First question, she asked me which is closer to Sudan. I told her, here's the world map, and then she decided, I'm Ghanaian, I'm going to go to Ghana. So Esther, welcome to the conversation and to the family of ICF, and to being intentional about how we contribute. So we really want to welcome you to our community. Okay, so I think I've got the last say, right? In terms of what I needed to say.
I think there was another hand. Honorable Mokatu, if you are still here.
There we go. Yes, that's
Honorable,
the
if
one.
you are still here, you still, Honorable, if you are still here, can you come in?
Okay. Thank you, Nana. Today it was a youth day, and then I'm happy that we are also focusing on the youth in terms of coaching. So it's very relevant. And I happened to be with at UNESCO today to address the young people, but then I confused the young people a lot today. So I heard what Malcolm had said, but I think most of us can relate to this. The young people are confused. How do they move forward? What is it that they are moving forward to? They were asking me a very genuine question. The politics that you are in, is this what you can hand over? Is this what you can pass on? And then I answered, I said, no, this is the ones that we are involved in, is too dirty and it doesn't bring about development. So I listen as the presenters were saying in terms of the mindset change, how we could play it. And then even the example that Malcolm has made of planting a tree that you may not its fruits, which is, I think, in the other way, it can be, if we are not willing to do that, we may not never fix and then assist young people to inherit a good and then a prosperous continent, especially in the continent of Africa. So I was just worried in terms of how young people are getting into the politics, which are already dirty, the politics, which are already not benefiting the majority of people, even though the capacity is there to do that. So I'm wondering, my question is, I'm wondering, how can we use coaching to also, without necessarily belittling the politics, but to show their reality so that young people can choose, so that the inheritance that they have, the legacy from their political parties and then all that, can be put in a proper perspective so that they are able to choose from there how to deal with things. Or maybe they could change when they get into government, not to do the things that the politicians for so long have been doing, which are wrong, which are not progressing the country, which are a bit selfish, which I abhor so much, and I feel disgusted most of the time. How can we be the type of the people we have become in the governance structure? There are few people who are still trying to do good, but the majority is very bad. Believe you me, I mean there, it's very bad. How can we use coaching so that the young people, as they are mobilized, they are not just mobilizing them to the same thing that we have been in, which has not or is not helping so much, but it's just helping few people. Thank you.
Yeah. Honorable Makoto, that's Makoto, right? That's a very deep question. So when it comes to politics, and I mean, I've worked with in government, as a coach, I've been doing coaching within government in different sectors. And what I found interesting is values is the biggest issue that we've got. Values. Now, Marsha Reynolds, and I think for all the coaches, we know that she's a guru, and she's got this wonderful book that says, we coach the person, not the problem. So the problem in government is corruption. The problem in government is X, Y, Z, whatever it might be. The question is, what is the type of person that we bring into government? Do we bring a values-based person in there? If our young people can experience and we challenge them, because coaching for me has got a few components to it. When I engage with coaching, the first thing that I ask my client is, what are your values? What is the things that's important to you? What do you stand with? Is it integrity? Is it respect? And what does that mean? So the moment our young people, when they are looking and even looking at going into politics, and politics is not a bad thing. I think we've got biased people in politics, but politics in itself is not a bad thing. Our journey is going to be, how do we help our young people to be values-based when they step into any career, including politics? How is the values going to drive? Is it of service to the communities and that? And that is where coaching comes in from a very young age, where we're able to shape their values in that, which is also a difficult thing. Some of the things that I've experienced is I worked with somebody pre a particular position in government and post a particular position in government. And absolute power corrupt absolutely. So the question is, how do they handle power? So how do we work with our young people in determining how do they deal when power is given to them? Then the question that I've got for us as coaches and for those that is in youth development, whether it's through coaching, mentoring, or whatever it might be. Marshall Goldsmith has got a book that says, what got you here won't get you there. So we've tried whatever we did, and it brought us to the point that we are. The same strategies are not going to get us to the point where we want our young people to be. So what do we need to do differently? How do we show up differently? How do we approach our coaching, How do I approach our conversation differently with our young people to get them to where they need to be? I think so. There's a two-pronged thing. How do we help them through a coaching, and how do we shift ourselves in terms of how we show up to be able to do that? So, Honorable, I hope that I've added some value to your question.
Malcolm, I think this may also be maybe my last words, but we are just discussing how early we need to be in the development and the growth of our young people. So coaching must be part of the journey. So for example, the teacher teaching our young people, do they get to have coaches? The leadership that supervises all quality of education across the divide, do they get to have coaches? Because if they even get to have just coaching skills in the way they facilitate their lessons, even coaching skill in the way they design education policies, by the time they get to university, coaching shifts environment. And I've already explained that if you leave the space, there's something else will occupy it. So when we decide to occupy the space first and making coaching not just that one-on-one, knowing that coaching has got space set and it can't fit into anything. Today I was talking to one of our coaches and in a coaching conversation, I said, I have made a commitment that I would never put my coaching hat down. So by the time I take my coaching hat and put it down, when I go back, it has been taken by whatever has taken it. What do? But rather, I'll put on my coaching hat that can plug into anything else I do. Meaning that is the ways of being. So when we can integrate coaching across board, it allows our politicians, it allows our young people. One of the things you shouldn't forget is what you tell kids to do, they do it. They don't hear you, they don't listen to you. But what they observe us doing is what they also do. This is pure psychology. This is pure, we call it mirroring of the neurons, what they see us do. So if we, they are leaders, if we, the people in positions now, begin to choose to being coaches or leader coaches, they will begin to also learn from our footprints. And if the leaders themselves don't even know what coaching is, that is what the quagmire is. Even you who want to create a shift in their lives, you don't know the coach, you don't know what coaching is. You don't have the skill that you can use in your leadership. You are not making investment that will bring transformation. Then we go back to what we say square one. But this is a beautiful conversation we have this afternoon, and I want to acknowledge Dr. Finch Malcolm for doing this with us as a chapter in a way that it deepens our DEIB, one of the faculties of our DEIB being International Youth Day, and the rest are there. We do International Women's Day, we do International Men's Day. Yes, we are the only chapter that has got all these bouquets for every aspect of our diversity. International Men's Day in November, International Women's Day in, I think, March, International Youth Day in August. Then we have a dedicated portfolio for French-speaking coaches where they can also hold conversations in the language that gives them comfort. So our VIP of DEIB, this is the example ICF Ghana embodies and represent. So that when you go to Global, tell them about our story. We are grateful. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you, Scofrey. So our third co-conversationalist, Aikyna, you have Malcolm and Scofrey have given their last word, and yours?
Yes. So first off, thank you for the opportunity to come and speak today. It was truly an honor. And to be able to just support the DIB efforts in Ghana has been absolutely amazing. As I stated before, I heard great things before I stepped into the room, but now I see the greatness. And so I am greatly appreciative to be able to support you in anything that you need to do thus far. As a person who has had to create spaces where there were none, I truly understand that. And even starting with the francophone, knowing that it was there, but that it needed to happen, you made it happen. With the three people that started the chapter, and having Malcolm to believe in you, you made it happen. That was a space that wasn't there, and you made it happen. And choosing a topic such as the youth, so pivotal, so important, often often overlooked. I applaud you for that as well. You have shown that you are not scared of a challenge. You meet it head on and you make it happen. And what an honor to be in the presence of people that are warring on for the state of coaching. And in a world where people don't understand it, don't know about it, blow it off, all the things. And my topic of DEIB falls into that category as well. But to see coaching, the love of coaching and the love of DEIB so tightly connected has truly warmed my heart today. And so if you ever need anything, you make sure I know about it. I'll be there because it'll be my honor to support all of these initiatives that you have because I could truly see that the work is heartfelt. And as far as today in our youth and to the honorable, I applaud you today because similar to our speakers today, you are doing the work. You are seeing the challenge and you're not running from it. In fact, you're asking, how can I help? How can I get in deeper? How can I move that needle? And that's what we need today, coaches. The world is shifting. The world is moving from the human connection and all the things with AI and all the things. We have to stand together and show them that that is not going away. So that is our challenge. And I know that y'all are all up for it. So that's what I would say today. And thank you for the opportunity once again, Emily.
You're so welcome, and thank you. Thank you for your time. Very, very, very deeply appreciated. And we'll take you up on that anytime we need you. We need you all the time. And
I was gonna say, sorry, Emily, to break your word,
yes.
and I know we're almost time to close off now, but I was gonna say, Aikyna must be careful what she offers Ghana. Be very careful.
I'm just giving her a heads up.
Oh, Free got me in Paris, so I'm already aware of what I'm in for. So it's good.
So that is good. So you've just seen a taste of Ghana chapter. Wait until you have the full impact of all the Ghana chapter members. But thank you. I think we're going to enjoy this relationship. And Malcolm, thank you for making sure that we have that connection, and Scoffrey for seeking her out when you met her and bringing her forward. Thank you so much, Aikyna. I think we have the privilege of having you today. And we are always deeply grateful to Malcolm for all the doors that he opens for this chapter and his passion and special place that he has shown to the Ghana chapter. I know he loves all his chapters, but I know Ghana has a special corner in his heart, for growing and for nurturing. So I want to just give some small space of time to see if there's anybody in the audience that wants to make a comment or share a last word on what they've heard today before we go to closing. Any raised hands, any comments? Joy, are there any comments there that, people have put up that can be shared, or are there any hands up, people want to share something?
Coach Emily, I don't have my hand up.
Okay.
I've hesitated a few times, multiple times to raise my hands, but I think I should say this before we finally go. Hola from Barcelona. And
Hola.
it's about where we can contribute as coaches to influence the younger ones through parenting. And here I'm not only referring to between us coaches and our direct children alone, but I've heard us talk about how we can achieve this through teachers in schools, etc. I think we can also engage parents so that parents may consider the parenting approach that actually embraces and uses coaching. You know, leaders are able to use the coaching approach to lead. We've seen managers who are using the coaching approach to lead with significant impact made on teams. And I've tested this in my own parenting as I have 4 sons. And I have also tried to influence other parents to alter how they are parenting by using the coaching approach. They don't need to go through the certification. And I'm thinking that if we are to catch them young, and especially to catch them in an environment where technology is not even competing, we should pay attention to the parenting space. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doris. Thank you so much for that contribution. Yes, it's one of those things that we don't actually go into, but I believe that as a chapter, as you know, we have been planning to go into schools and hopefully they're meeting with parents as we encounter the students. So I think we planned it for September this year, if I'm not correct, if I'm not wrong, that just make sure that we raise that issue when we come to that point and that we begin to have that conversation as the schools will allow us and as parents will allow us into their space. So thank you for bringing that up. It's a very important factor because that is where the first steps begin within the household. And if the parent does not know how to raise the child in this mindset, which Scoffrey talks a lot about, I think that the world will be a better place once we can get that traction. And if Ghana chapter can begin to traction that in Africa, I think that we'll have made great strides. And is there anyone else who has something to say from the floor? A quick word before we close?
Yes, thank you, Emily. On behalf of the team from the Kingdom of Lesotho, we really appreciate it. It was great presentations that are helping. They are refreshing what we are also learning in our class. So we are the coaches in learning. Thank you so much and God bless.
Thank you so much, Honorable.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us. I think we have about like 4 more minutes to close this session. So if there's one last call for anyone from the floor, I know you've been patient, you've been putting things in the chat. And I pray that Joy, if you can capture all what is in the chat for us to look at later, I think it'll be useful for us. So
I think Fiona's hand is up, Emily.
I can't see any hands up from where I'm sitting. I can't see
Fiona.
hands up.
So I just want to say thank you so much for today's conversation. I am just excited. This is something that I'm very passionate about. It's something that I do. And even this afternoon, I had a conversation with Kofi about it. And so hearing Malcolm, hearing Dr. Aikyna and Malcolm, and then Scoffrey and everybody else share in how we can, empower or take the conversation to the young people. I'm just excited. I want to say thank you. Thank you to everybody. And I just pray that we will all put our hands under the wheel and do the work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fiona. Thank you. Well, that said, if there are no more hands up or no more...
There's one more.
There's one more hand?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm the hand checker today.
Yes, thank you. I was just about to thank you for that.
I said, Oikos, I'm not sure. Please,
Yes.
Godwin. Yes.
Yes. I just wanted to say a big thank you to our moderator and the speakers. And I just want to conclude by saying, let's impart before we depart. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Oikos. Thank you. Thank you for joining and thank you for that We will impact as we depart and after departing. On my end, I'm so full of joy, pride, and amazement in terms of what we have been able to share in this short space of time. I know it's not everything, but it's the start of this conversation of the youth. We said the youth are not people that we are working towards. They're part of us already. And they're even part of us before we give birth to them. So how do we start it from the first seed? How do we start from the ground up? And we talked about the youth voice briefly. I mean, Scoffrey didn't mention that. I mentioned it very briefly. The youth voice, where is its place in our own scheme of things as coaches? Do we hear it? Do we see it? Do we consider it? Because if young people were designing the coaching profession today, what would they change first? What would they look for? What would growth mean to them, to them today? And who defines this for them? And what are they actually looking for? We've heard a bit of what they're actually looking for. We've heard of what our guest speakers, conversationalists have said we should be looking for, and and there's much more. These are just touching, just scraping the surface. We should dig a lot deeper than that, but at least we have a place to start now. Career advancement, confidence, belonging, purpose, income, leadership, well-being, or is it something else? Or is it just raising the child, nurturing the child? Or is it speaking to the teachers who teach these children? What kind of service do we give as coaches to teachers, to lecturers, to help them look at the place of coaching in their teaching? So how could coaching impact the way they deliver their courses? How can they bring somebody from a borderline failure student to somebody who is an excellent student through just a coaching conversation? What is the impact of coaching and this conversation that it has on the youth? So we should not be coaching the world as it is for young people, but we should be preparing them to create the kind of world that they will be happy living in, the kind of world they too will have an impact on, the kind of world they too will take forward the coaching conversation, and the kind of world that they want to see as well. And from this baobab tree that is huge, if we all join hands together, we will definitely walk around this baobab tree several times with joint hands, raising up the youth, raising up each other, raising up ourselves, raising up those who are in charge of the youth and those who are to come. We should also not forget the informal sectors who are struggling on their own to try to make something out of life. There are very many groups that have come together as SMEs, small, medium enterprises, as informal groups, as youth groups, just to try to see how can we support each other, how can we make sure that whatever we've got our hands into, it can succeed. Now, Ghana Chapter has taken on a project with SMEs in Ghana, and it was exciting to see our first meeting there. We have people who have some well-educated, but trying to make up some kind of livelihood for themselves, but not really knowing how to go about it, where to go about it, and just fumbling. But in that coaching conversation, it opens up lights, aha moments. Oh, I never thought about that. Aha, so this is what I can do. So in every aspect of life, there is a space for coaching. And as coaches and as ICF and as Ghana Chapter, I believe that we should open our eyes and look deeper and broader and wider and open up ourselves, not just to look at what am I getting out of coaching. And if I may say so, and I may be stepping on a few toes here, sometimes the reason why coaching is only targeted at certain groups or certain areas is because to be certified or to be accredited, there are certain requirements. And these requirements are stringent, and they relate to certain things to do with finance, to do with how far you have come. And to do with how far you have come, the nature of the coaching that you have done is also important. So this is another area I would call on ICF to look at seriously in terms of this coaching conversation and where it can go in relationship to youth and those groups that are hard to reach at the moment, and how coaches can benefit from that coaching that they would give at those levels to count for something towards their accreditations. Because I believe this is where the gap is. There are so many people out there, so many coaches doing wonderful things, but they cannot count it forward for various reasons. So this is an appeal that I'm looking at coming out of this conversation, because there are many things out of this conversation that are leading to broadening that area and looking more deeply at what really makes a coach and what can be brought to bear to say, yes, having done X, Y, Z, it makes a difference, and it does show that as a coach, you have made a difference somewhere. So thank you all. Thank you, co-conversationalists. Thank you, participants. Thank you, ICF. Thank you, Ghana Chapter. Thank you, participants from all other chapters. Thank you, African chapters, who we're always together in this support. And thank you, coaches. Have a beautiful day. Morning, afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you are.